Hello, everybody. My name is Noel Miller, expert in self-care, and today I'm going to be answering the question, how does self-care work? This is very interesting. So, essentially, the most kind of simple but comprehensive way of explaining this is that of the missing piece. All right. So let's say that in all cases, there's generally two missing pieces, right? Um, when a person is missing both pieces, they're not aware that there is a problem. Generally, this problem, but it is noted by the people around them, and they might say, "Man, you have such a temper." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Or they might say, "Well, you really have a limp when you walk. Did you notice?" So, no, I'm fine. I'm walking straight. This is generally going to be the person or how that person reacts when they're missing the two pieces. Now, let's say that the person gains one of those pieces, and these are pieces to health, by the way. Uh, you know, uh, so the person gains one piece. Now they're aware that something is off, right? They start to realize that, hey, you know what? My shirt isn't fitting the same way that it always used to fit. Or I noticed that my shoe is worn out on one side and not the other. Or I notice I do get frustrated in this kind of situation. In this place here, we're not particularly aware of what to do about it, but we are noticing that something is happening. Now let's move on to the next stage. We're slowly progressing to, let's say, the self-care start. All these pieces can be addressed by self-care, but we're moving our way there. So now we're at the point where we notice both pieces. Wow, you know what? There is this thing that is bothering me, and this is what I want. This is what I want to get out of it. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to make changes. I want to, do something about it. Uh, in this sense, generally, when both pieces are known, we don't particularly know what to do about it. We know where we want to go. And this can be very confusing because most people think then, I need to become this fit. So I need to work out 3 times a week, and that's how I become that fit. This is again more of I know what the end is, and I'm trying to force my way to the end without knowing the process. That's generally what happens there. So there is some frustration and sometimes some negative experience because you're not going to get there in a sustainable way, per se. So now we move on to, well, we notice both pieces, and now we're really focusing. We have some kind of history with this challenge now. We went to a few different practitioners. We haven't quite solved it. It's come back. Now we're really determined to, overcome this thing. So now we're a little bit more focused. We're now ready to start the self-care journey. There needs to be some experience that happens before self-care starts. And this is kind of the whole process that we're talking about. So now you're ready to take this thing on in earnest and start your self-care journey. But wait, this now becomes the most challenging of all situations, mainly because, again, people start to associate the kind of end goal with a process that they already know, right? And this is kind of misleading from the very beginning. However, let's say you're on this journey. You will gently, see different paths to take. And some people will go on those paths. These are more likely mirages, not the true thing. So when you end up here, you feel like you've gotten there, you've arrived, but the feeling itself is not quite right. Something is off. I thought I'd feel different than this. Why don't I feel fulfilled now? Or you might come to the conclusion that, this is not even sustainable. I thought I could keep this up going and I've done it for a year, but you end with kind of a crash. This is fine. This is more experience, but we need to get back on that path of self-care. And now we continue. And as we go closer and closer towards the end and we get there, we realize now that the process was nothing that we thought it would be like. And now we've gotten the result that we're looking for. And lo and behold, it is not a very material thing. It's not an external thing, but it is an internal feeling. This feeling then allows us to release the stress, release the pressure, release the pain, release the hurt. Why is this? Because these things, again, were shown to us by the body through experience in a way of making us go on this journey. Because we were uncomfortable, we wanted to get comfortable. And so we pursued this thing. Because we didn't figure it out right away, we continued trying to figure it out. Therefore, the challenge indicates the journey. And now that you're at the end of this particular journey, you've now seen that the process is a lot different. Now the stresses are gone. They're not as much. In fact, they might leave completely. This meaning that future challenges will come. This is for sure. However, these things are known to you, and you won't be trudging through the forest and the wilderness to try to find this thing again, but you'll be walking in the rays of the sun as you cross uh, formerly known pathways and such. So this, in a sense, is the journey of self-care. At all points, self-care is important. Generally, very much at the beginning of the actual journey itself. This is where the professional is very powerful, because self-care really relies on three different elements: the three elements of health: mental, physical, and emotional health. And not just that, but their synergy, their bond, their cohesion, their balance. And in this way, pointing to the direction where these stresses are negated. So this is now the most comprehensive, in my opinion, understanding of how self-care really works and what it does. And in, again, balancing out these turmoils, we use our internal resources appropriately. We no longer feel those stressors. And we feel fulfilled, we feel important, we feel creative, we feel happy, we feel at peace, essentially. So again, this is the up-to-date version of how self-care works and kind of what it does. For more information on the more, let's say, particulars of the situation, then you can look at some of my many videos on the topic in a more specific manner. Thank you very much for listening. My name again is Noah Miller, and we have talked about how self-care works. Thank you.